Welcome to the Dallas Soccer Show. I'm Dustin Nation, checking in from in front of the house behind me. And joining me from just down the road from Oklahoma is Jonathan Ross. What's new, Jonathan?
Hey, Dustin. You know what's new? What's new is that FC Dallas just destroyed Houston. Destroyed them so bad that their fans packed up, or maybe were pushed out. With 10 minutes left in the game. So
they didn't have any beer left, so because they threw it all.
It could be that, but no. It's coming off of a great week, great win. Keeps us in the playoff hunt. So it's really, as an FC Dallas fan, it's really hard to complain. About where we are and kind of the path forward.
For sure. I think one thing, though, is kind of important to keep in mind is just that Houston's bad. And
really bad.
So we need to, yes, that was awesome. We always want to crush a rival, but we've got to temper expectations, I guess, with that. So let's take a little bit of a look towards this week's matchup against FC Cincinnati. It will be Saturday evening at 7 at Toyota Stadium. And for this show, it used to be called the lineup prediction show. Now we've morphed it into more of a match buildup show. We're calling it the match buildup show. And we're going to be starting to refine kind of the format and how we go about putting on the show. We're going to try to pack as much information into this show as we can, but still keep it short and consumable. So from week to week, you might see a little bit of tweaking going on. One of those tweaks will be this week's first segment, and we'll see how it goes and see if we want to keep it. This segment is called Stats, Stories, Players, and Things. And so each one of us will take the opposition and name stats, stories, players, and things that are going on with the opposition and kind of get us filled in on them. The other one will take FC Dallas, and most likely it'll be less of a fill in or an overview because we're talking about them every week, but we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to go ahead and get started with Cincinnati tonight. And then Jonathan later on here in a second, whenever I'm done, will be talking and giving us the. Go ahead.
I'm ready to be amazed with your knowledge of Cincinnati, Dustin. I know what a huge FC Cincinnati fan you are.
Everybody likes a little blue and orange every now and then, right?
Yep.
All right. So let's start with their overall record. Their overall record. So the stats portion of the stats, stories, players, and things. Their overall record is 5 wins, 19 losses, and 3 draws. That has them at last in the MLS. They're just not good. And I think at the risk of just sounding like I'm dumping on them this entire segment, they're just not good. In fact, I asked Armand, what do we need to know about Cincinnati since you have the other podcast that follows more of MLS at a whole, and he just said they're terrible. So then he said, quote me on that. So I did. All right. As far as scoring and defense goes, they average 1 goal per game. That's 27 goals in 27 games. And they allow 2.37 goals per game against. That puts them at a total goal differential for the entire season over 27 games at a minus 37 goal differential, which is really bad. Okay, then how did they get here? They fired Alan Koch in May after he lost 7 of his first 11 games. So he went 2-7-2. And just in August, I think August 8th or so, they replaced him with his permanent replacement, Ron Jans. And since appointment, he's gone 0 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. In the last 5 matches, they are winless with 4 losses and 1 draw. Their lone draw was the first leg of the Hell is Real Derby. Jonathan, trivia question. Why do they call it the Hell is Real Derby?
I think it had something to do with a highway sign. I can't remember for sure.
That is actually correct. There's a sign on I-71 that connects Cincinnati and Columbus that some developer put up that says "Hell is real." It's a religious sign. And apparently, there's a couple any other places that developer owns across the country, but that is the mutually agreed upon name for the derby based on that sign on the highway. So the more you know. So looking back, as far as wins go, FC Cincinnati hasn't won since they beat Chicago on July 13th. That's over a month and a half since they've won in any competition. Not that I think there is still far in any of them, but yeah. So that's for stats. That's what they've got. All the stats say that FC Dallas should be able to handle their business on Saturday against FC Cincinnati. We move into stories. There are a couple stories that might affect this game coming in. One would be Victor Ulloa and Roland Lamar returning to Dallas. They were both players at FC Dallas last season, and they both got moved to Cincinnati. I think the situations were slightly different. One was a trade and one was a free agency. But they're both coming back to play here again, so that might provide some extra motivation for them. Also, Kekuta Mane's family lives in Austin, and they haven't seen him play in over 2 years. And so he's really amped up about having his family in the stadium to watch him play for the first time in a while. The other thing is that pretty much Ron Jans has given up on this season. Obviously, there's not much to play for them. And so I believe he's been quoted as saying that they're going to be rotating players in and out to try to see what the players are made of, evaluate the players going forward, see if they fit in what his plans are going forward. So those are kind of the good.
I saw some things, Dustin. Yeah, I don't think he was very happy with that second half performance in their own derby. Right, the hell is real. So yeah, and at this point, right, what's the point of not making changes?
Right, got to see what they're made of.
Lose this season. Yep.
Exactly. And then moving on to players and things to watch for. So there's not a whole lot here to watch for. FC Cincinnati, their 27 goals have been scored by 13 different players, but only 4 players have scored more than 1 goal. So, and I don't have that list in front of me. I think it's Alan Cruz, Kekuta Mane, and somebody else. The 2 other people.
I was gonna thank you, Dustin, for not throwing that trivia question at me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I had no idea.
So players to watch for, probably one would be Kekuta Mane. He came off the bench against Columbus. Darren Maddox normally gets the starts, but with his family there, he's going to have that extra motivation. He might be a threat coming in as a sub, or if he gets the start over Maddox. The only other, I guess, real player to watch for since the FC Cincinnati is Alan Cruz, and he's their midfielder. You've seen him kind of play as a 10 or on the wing and or on the side of the midfield. He has a season total open play expected goals of 4.0. That leads the team of in expected goals from open play. The next closest person is Darren Maddox, and he's only at 2.1. So, if anyone's going to be creating and giving them chances, it's going to be Alan Cruz. So keep an eye on him. So that is what to watch for, the stats, stories, and players for FC Cincinnati. What do you got for us for FC Dallas? The battle of the FCs.
Well, first off, this is if you look up the definition of a trap game, I think this is it, right? And I think there was an article came out from FC Dallas today with a quote from Lucci saying this is absolutely the most important game of the year. I think it was actually something he said in the post game after Houston. We started talking about what's next as we play FC Cincinnati, and I think that you have to have that mentality, because if you don't take care of business against Cincinnati, that win against Houston was wasted, and your chances of making the playoffs are pretty dang low. So Dustin, when you talked about FC Cincinnati's losing streak, so FC Dallas has their own little streak going, which is they have not won 2 games in a row since the second month of the season, so since way back in April. So one of those streaks is bound to end. Either we're going to pick up the second win, which obviously I think we as FC Dallas fans all really expect to see. There's a couple of other interesting things going on. So we've been playing really well at home. We're in the last 8. We're 5-0-3. The last time that we lost a game was back in May 19th. So we've started to put together a little bit of the Fortress Frisco again. It hasn't been the same, the last couple of years, but I think this year we're starting to see at least a little bit of that. I would say that
welcome news. That's welcome news.
Yep, and I think that to me, one of the big things that we've seen over the last few games is just this offensive explosion. So not in every game, obviously the LA Galaxy one, no, but we've had 2 games in the last 4 where we scored 5 goals. In both of those, we had 60% possession, and we hadn't scored 5 goals before that Minnesota game until back in 2017. So, we went through the whole 2018 season without scoring 5 goals, and then most of this season, and now we've had 2 really good back-to-back performances. And I think that so part of that strategy is really about making sure you score first. Sounds pretty obvious, but our statistics when we do and don't are pretty significantly different. So we're this year we're 10-1-4 when we score first, and we're 1-9-1 when we don't score first. Interesting enough, I think that one win and that one draw have been both very recently. I think it was the Minnesota game and the Montreal game were the one win and the one draw.
Yes.
So before that, we were even much worse off. There's a couple of key stats for me, key players to watch. So one is Michael Barrios. So statistically, when Mikey scores, we're 17-3-3. That includes the last win against Houston. So it's and that's through Mikey's Mikey's duration here as playing for FC Dallas. We're 17-3-3 when he scores. I think the other key player to watch, based on his performance, he could have been maybe the man of the match last week, but man, Jesus Ferreira, he had an awesome game. And I think if I'm going to say who am I going to watch, who needs to have another big game, I think we need to. Everybody talked about Cobra. Cobra was efficient. I'm sure at some point we'll probably, as we go through the lineups, we'll talk a bit about Cobra. But to me, that's the big player story is how well Ferreira played in that. I'm going to call it that 10 role, right? I think even Lucci said that it was more of a 10-8-6 in the last game versus this 6 and dual 8s. And we saw Jesus attack the back line, turn an attack to something we haven't seen a lot of, and it's something we saw early on in the season with Paxton. But I think since Paxton's been nursing his hamstring, and we haven't seen that much aggressiveness from him. So that's my key player to watch.
Yeah, that willingness to just drive into the heart of the defense. No one seems to have it, and now Jesus seems to have found that.
Yes.
Don't give that guy 5 yards of space for 50 yards.
No, definitely not. And I think if we see that again, that's my key player to watch. Now I do have I have a trivia question for you.
Okay.
So, Acosta leads the league in one statistic across all of MLS. Any ideas what that is?
It's either yellow cards or I think it's going to be passes completed.
You were actually right the first one. He's top 5 in fouls. He's top 5 in fouls committed, and he's number one. He's number 1 in yellow cards. He's with 10. He's leading the MLS. It is obviously something we have to keep in watch on going into this, because he is on yellow card accumulation. He will miss the next game if he gets another yellow card. But that is something he leads in, and it's kind of interesting. I think part of that has been his shift, getting used to the league, and then also now his shift to being much more of a defender. He's definitely been playing very aggressive, but it was hey, we've got an MLS leader sitting right here in FC Dallas, right?
Yeah, someone's on the leaderboard. All right.
So I'll shift a little bit, Dustin. I want to talk about what do we think from a formation and personnel perspective. So just like last week, we'll go through who played, who started last match, and then I'll throw it to you, Justin, to see what changes you would make. So
sure.
I'll start from the back. So the back was our normal back five, I would say. It's Hollingshead, Ziegler, Hedges, and Cannon, with, of course, Gonzalez sitting behind them. Midfield, we did see a change because of the Paxton, I think, trying to nurse that injury. We saw him not come in until later in the game, and Cervania took his place, and from my perspective, did a really good job. And then up top, the one and only Dustin's favorite player in the world, Cobra, as the striker, with Baji and, of course, Mr. Mikey Barrios on the right wing. So that's how we started. If you're Lucci, is that how you start against Cincinnati?
Short answer, no. That's not how I started. And let me think, just pontificate here. So I think Pomacall's too good to sit on the bench if he's not tired or hurt. So I think he's got to come in the game and he's got to start. So then that leads the question of who comes out to make way for Pomacall. One theory might be that Cervania comes out and makes way for Pomacall in the midfield. However, Cervania at that 8 position was very good, tidy, making good choices in positions that were threatening and making good passes. So, maybe you don't want to take him out. Maybe you want to reward him and let him have another game. So then that leaves the other option of you'd put him on the left wing, maybe Paxton, and take out Baji. And because here's the thing, you can't take out Jesus Ferreira. You just can't. And you can't take out Cobra because he's scoring. And what kind of message would that send, right? The guy is producing. He's giving our team what we need right now. So do you put Paxton on the left wing maybe? I think the answer is no. You saw that chemistry between Baji and Cobra. They connected for Cobra's goal, second goal, I think. So I think the answer is that Pomacall comes in for Cervania in that 8 position.
All right. So you do, so are you taking into consideration at all the fact that Paxton will, while the rest of the team is getting time off, Paxton will be with the U.S. men's national team? Does that change your thoughts at all?
No, it doesn't. I think that you have to deal with the game that's in front of you, and if you're Lucci, I think he's looking at this game, and then he'll look at the other game whenever it comes time. If he comes back from the men's national team camp and needs a rest, then he'll address it then. And I think that's what'll happen. I've been wrong in the past. I've also been right. So we guess we'll get to see together. What about you? If you were Lucci, how would you change that lineup, or would you keep it the same?
You know what? I am staying 100% the same. I'm gonna let Paxton rest a little bit still. He did look pretty good when he came in. I actually also thought about playing him on the wing, but I don't think you can. I think Baji and Cobra seem like they have a good connection, and I think that's both an on the field and off the field thing. I went to the meet the team night last Thursday, and those two guys, after all the signatures and stuff were done, were just goofing off, and Cobra ran up actually behind Baji and picked him up and started laughing. It was just you could tell that that there's a good camaraderie there, right? I think that's a good pairing. I think we'll continue to see that. I'm going to rest Paxton. I'm going to let him go into that men's national team camp, his first one, right? Rested and healthy. So if I'm Lucci, obviously you can always pull him off the bench, but I think that the formation and the team that we saw on the Houston match is going to be the same. One thing that's interesting, and we'll find out if I'm correct or incorrect on this. I could swear that I've heard or read somewhere that players who played for a USL affiliate could not play for their MLS club during the same week. Now, I've perused all kinds of rules this week to try to find where I saw that, and it's not listed in any of the official rules. So I could swear I read that, and if so, then we would have. The NTSC fielded a really strong lineup with Roberts, Pepe, Cirillo, Hayes, two more. I'm trying to think who.
Colin Montgomery.
So Montgomery,
Johnny Nelson.
Johnny Nelson. And there's one other one, but I mean, I think we saw people that we've seen in play first team MLS. So it'd be interesting. I may just be completely wrong because I tweeted that out and then I was like, man, where did I read that at? And I can't find it. But I do remember hearing or reading somewhere that they're allowed to bring them up, but not that they can't play for both teams in the same week. So we'll see.
We'll see how that shakes out.
If the 18 comes out and none of those guys are in the 18, then we could say, all right, maybe Jonathan actually knows what he's talking about. If not, then maybe that's something I dreamed up.
We'll make sure that you get accosted for it if you are wrong. We'll make sure to point it out.
So I know that you're going to have your a podcast, I'm sure, coming up pretty soon with your compadres. But I'm going to ask you one question that I'm sure you'll cover on the podcast too. Mm-hmm. So what did you think of Cobra's performance? In a nutshell. You don't have to start crying and stuff and talking about how great he is.
I mean, how much time do we have here tonight?
Exactly. The quick and dirty version.
Oh, de Cobra. No, I think it was a great performance. I think I said it after the Montreal game, and I think it still held up. I think he is exactly what this team needs in order to score goals. And in order to make that attack click, and you cannot complain one bit about his performance in that game either. So, I think he got the man of the match.
He did get the man of the match, although
the Budweiser man or the Heineken.
The Budweiser man of the match.
Yeah,
he didn't get either one of our predictions though.
No, I think I did say he'd score though.
You did say he would score. Yes, good job.
Yay me.
Woo-hoo.
All right, speaking of scoring predictions.
Yes.
Let's move on and talk about what we think is going to happen in this game as far as the score goes. Jonathan, what will the score be?
What the hell, man? We've got to go 5-1.
Okay.
I mean, come on. I mean, it's that's just what we do now, right? We just score 5 goals. I mean, I would love to see. I actually do think that there's a chance of another offensive breakout. I do think that if they do continue to play the tactics like they did in the last game against Houston, I think we'll see that. I agree with you. Cobra's just doesn't get a lot of attention or touches, but he's efficient, right? So I think he got 11 total touches other than shot. He had 11 other touches and 5 shots. I mean, that's pretty efficient to have 11 passes and 5 shots, all within the 18, right? So I see that man of the match. Because I gushed over him earlier, I'm going to go with Jesus Ferreira. He's going to actually get 2 goals that count. Even though I think the second goal, on the last game should have counted. I'm going to say Jesus Ferreira is my man of the match. Dustin, can you one up it? What do you think? 7-1?
No, I think I'm gonna pull it back just a little bit. I think we have to win this game. I think the score has to indicate or has to tell us what the level of quality is between the two teams. And for that, I mean, we are a bubble playoff team, and they are the last place team in the MLS. So with that, I would say I'm going to go 4-1 FC Dallas wins. And I think that as far as players that might have a breakout game, I'm going to ride that Cobra right on in to its den or whatever, some sort of metaphor that makes me sound fun. where we're basically taking, and we're going to stick with Cobra having a good game. The dark horse candidate being somebody who I've had some problems with their play, but Brian Acosta having a man of the match performance. Maybe we'll see.
Oh, that'd be really great to see. I had called Hollingshead last week, who I think who did really well. Steve Davis thought he was the man of the match, but he was not the Budweiser man of the match, so it doesn't matter. One more question. So Dustin, you've got this awesome new pod music. I forgot to mention. I'm sure you guys all listened to the intro and are like, man, they've got it together here at the Dallas Soccer Show. But I have a question for you.
Sure.
An inspiration from the Cobra. Are you going to start playing some maybe some Eastern European house music as a nice intro?
I've coined the phrase Czechno music. For any
Czechno music,
and it's not just any Czech music. It's any techno or electronic music that is in any way associated with Zdeněk Ondřejsek. That is Czechno music.
You should try to enter that into Wikipedia, man. I'll approve it for you.
All right, sounds good. Little known fact, and I'm bearing my soul here. In college, I was a electronic music DJ and producer. So.
And now you're a podcast.
And then I got a girlfriend, who's now my wife.
Man.
Who's now my wife. All right. Well, with all that going on, we're gonna bow out on this one. Game again, 7:00 Saturday afternoon, night at Toyota Stadium against FC Cincinnati. Jonathan Ross is on Twitter. Jonathan as at Jonathan Ross 12. Thanks for joining me again, Jonathan.
Of course, Dustin.
We are Dallas Soccer Show. We're online at forget the www. It's DallasSoccerShow.com. We're on Twitter as at Dallas Soccer Show, and we want to thank you for listening. Take it easy.
H-O-O-P